Welcome to the West Wing Week, your guide to everything that's happening at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. This week, the President spoke on the importance of addressing economic mobility and supporting implementation of the Affordable Care Act, visited fasting immigration reform activists, marked World AIDS Day, celebrated Hanukkah, and visited a local bookstore for Small Business Saturday. That's November 29th to December 5th, or Olde English.
For those of you who don't speak Old English, let me translate. It means if you work hard, you should make a decent living.
On Friday, the White House welcomed the delivery of the official White House Christmas tree, a Douglas fir grown by the Botek family, second-generation Christmas tree farmers in Lehighton, Pennsylvania. The tree made its way to the heart of the White House, the Blue Room, and as in past years, will be decorated in honor of military families. Then, the President and First Lady visited the fasters from Fast for Families, brave individuals who've been fasting since November 12th in the shadow of the U.S. Capitol, in an effort to get the Republican leadership of the House to take a vote on comprehensive immigration reform. On Small Business Saturday, the President made a surprise visit to a local bookstore, Politics and Prose. He brought along Malia and Sasha to get a head start on some holiday shopping.
Don't stop shopping, people. Come on now.
On Sunday, the Vice President embarked on a 6-day trip to Asia that would take him to Japan, China, and the Republic of Korea to meet with key leaders and discuss a full range of bilateral, regional, and global issues. Stay tuned for a recap of the trip in next week's West Wing Week. On Monday, the President spoke in South Court Auditorium in observation of World AIDS Day.
The United States of America will remain the global leader in the fight against HIV and AIDS. We will stand with you every step of this journey until we reach the day that we know is possible, when we achieve at long last what was once hard to imagine, and that's an AIDS-free generation.
On Tuesday, the President hosted President Juan Manuel Santos of Colombia for a bilateral meeting in the Oval Office, where they discussed expanding our partnership far beyond security into new areas of mutual interest like commerce, energy access, regional infrastructure, and economic integration. Then, the President met with a group of beneficiaries of the Affordable Care Act and spoke on its positive impact now that the website is working as intended for the vast majority of users.
My main message today is we're not going back. We're not going to betray Monica or Julia or Sam or Justine or Joanne. I mean, that seems to be the only alternative that Obamacare's critics have is, well, let's just go back to the status quo because they sure haven't presented an alternative.
On Wednesday, following up on the speech he delivered in Osawatomie, Kansas 2 years ago, the President spoke on the twin challenges of growing economic inequality and shrinking economic mobility, and how both of those issues pose a fundamental threat to the American dream.
The idea that so many children are born into poverty in the wealthiest nation on earth is heartbreaking enough. But the idea that a child may never be able to escape that poverty because she lacks a decent education or health care, or a community that views her future as their own, that should offend all of us. And it should compel us to action. We are a better country than this.
Then, back at the White House, the President addressed the Affordable Care Act Youth Summit, a gathering of more than 160 young leaders from across the country who have broad reach in their communities and are helping to get the word out to young Americans about how to enroll.
But I hope you haven't been discouraged by how hard it's been, because stuff that's worth it's always hard. Don't get discouraged. Be persistent. You may get a few gray hairs as a consequence, but I think at the end of the day, you'll think it's worth it.
On Thursday, the President sat down for an interview with MSNBC's Hardball with Chris Matthews at American University in Washington, D.C. Back at the White House, the President celebrated Hanukkah alongside the First Lady. On Thursday evening, the world learned that Nelson Mandela had died. The President delivered a statement in the briefing room.
Let us pause and give thanks for the fact that Nelson Mandela lived. A man who took history in his hands and bent the arc of the moral universe towards justice.
To find out more information on any of these ACA, economic, holiday, or Columbian topics, or to see complete videos of these events, go to whitehouse.gov. And thanks again for checking out your West Wing Week.
Now I know what angels sound like in heaven.